working with Kiran, I know you've known her for a while. Was it the first time you were working with her professionally?
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
What is she like a director?
I mean, she's incredibly she's one of the hardest working kind of people I've met. She's really and she really gets into details. She's really in it. And she puts everything into it, so it really um it makes you really want to step up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um Like if you propose something, I know she's probably thought about it 5 times already. You know, she really gets in there, in terms of real kind of micro detail and puts every kind of ounce of energy into her work and what she's doing. It was really inspiring, to kind of work with her. She's really like just on it, like 100%. Um, And yeah, it's sometimes you feel like, okay, I like really working with directors who are super organized because then I feel like, okay, then I can take the ball and run, you know. Um, as a DP, a lot of times you kind of find yourself in a situation where you're just trying to like, hold it together, if it's kind of scattered with production and so on. You're just trying to like
Yeah.
just bring it in and just make sure all the things kind of work. But every time I work with a director, and I think I do best with directors who are like really, meticulous and organized, it really, allows you to then be spontaneous on the day because the bases have been covered, and you know, you're fine here, you're sorted here. Now you can kind of start pushing things and beyond that. So it was a great collaboration. It was absolutely fantastic working with her. She's, really kind of, really knows what she wants. And at the same time is always open to conversation. And that's, that's a fantastic combination to have.
Do you remember a particular, I know these things sometimes can become difficult to pull out from the memory lane, but do you remember a particular moment or scene that you shot where it kind of just stood out for whatever reason that was? Whether it was humorous, whether it was challenging, whether it was emotional.
Um, well, I could talk about just things in terms of in terms of light, Um, I was in one of the scenes in the station, um,
Mm,
and it was one of the first few days off the shoot. I actually had COVID. We did a test just before we had to leave for shoot, and I got the results that the shoot that I was COVID positive, and then I had to make the call and be like, we're supposed to leave tomorrow, and damn, so I had my first AC who's worked with me for close to 20 years step in for me and shoot the first parts. And the first night I kind of came in, we're doing this night scene in the station, and it's a very restrictive space where we really had no allowance for any light coming in. It was a small little crack in in the wall, and it was the only space to kind of throw a light into, you know. And I remember reading this thing. It was this book I was reading on the elements of Japanese design, right? And it turned out to actually be a book on philosophy, really. Not so much on design. And it talked about, sometimes if you really kind of restrict yourselves in your expression, but allow just one little window for you to express yourself. It could be like a kimono, but the only time you have an expression is behind the left ankle, and that's your one streak. And I try to apply that to lighting as well, where okay, you have conformity in the space, and then you allow one hard brush stroke to come in through this crack. And just the way it kind of played with the characters, kind of moving in and out of that light, um, it, it just felt, it's really amazing when things like that happen because you don't really plan for it, and then there's magic that just kind of happens, kind of brings you back to kind of just a general kind of, a general kind of method where, I think I kind of go through waves of, really deep diving into, previs and prepping. And then sometimes just going, okay, I'm not going to watch anything and I'm just going to react spontaneously to what's happening in front of me, and um, it's been really interesting because sometimes I feel like you know I mean previs is great and I admire directors and I really love that. But it has its place, right? And I feel you previs all you want, but in a way it kind of belongs to the past because anything that you can pre-visualize is borrowed from things that have somehow made their way in, that have belonged to the past. And you might be assembling them, but it belongs to a river that's already passed by, right? And then when the only thing is the current moment that you're in, and that becomes the moment that's alive, where you leave previous behind and you're just reacting to something that's happening now. And that's when it becomes a live moment, you know? And I feel like that authenticity is what then audiences can really touch and feel, to the sense of it being a live event, So I love things like that, you could, maybe you haven't planned and things just kind of then just start dancing around that. And it's a live event that happens sometimes between optics, the camera, actors, and, action. And it just becomes a live dance, and those are the moments that I really treasure.